As winter fades and spring arrives, maple trees work their magic, turning stored starch into sweet sap that flows from their trunks. Join us as we reveal the fascinating process of how this sap transforms into the delicious maple syrup that delights our taste buds. The journey of maple syrup started way back, long before European settlers arrived in North America. The indigenous peoples were already tapping into maple trees and boiling down the sap. But instead of the syrup we love today, they were making granulated maple sugar. This allowed them to always have a tasty sweetener on hand. Maple sugar was popular because it lasted a long time. It didn't spoil easily, and it was much cheaper than cane sugar brought in from faraway places. Early settlers in North America quickly embraced this sweet alternative, using it in their daily cooking and baking. As time went on, people got more creative. They figured out how to can and store food safely, which led to the syrup we now know. With a smooth, pourable consistency, maple syrup became a favorite, gracing breakfast tables and adding sweetness to all kinds of recipes. Fast forward to today, and you'll find that maple syrup is still a big deal, especially in the United States. Vermont shines as the leading producer of maple syrup thanks to its cold winters and beautiful fall colors, which help create the perfect environment for maple trees. But let's not forget that maple syrup isn't just an American treasure. Canada takes the crown for being the world's largest producer, with Quebec being the main star of the show. Other countries like Poland, Ukraine, and Russia also produce maple syrup, but on a smaller scale. So how is maple syrup made? The process starts with tapping the sugar maple trees when the weather is just right, usually late February to early March. This time of year is called sugar weather because the nights are still chilly, but the days warm up enough to get the sap flowing. Sugar makers prepare by getting their sugar bush or maple orchard ready. They clear paths, check their equipment, and keep an eye on nature for cues that it's time to tap those trees. Tapping trees for maple syrup is a fascinating process that connects us to the rhythms of nature. In January and February, maple producers head into the woods to prepare for the tapping season. They drill holes into sugar maple and red maple trees to insert taps, allowing the sap to flow from the trees. Depending on the size of the tree, each one can have 1 to 3 taps. For example, a tree with an 8-inch diameter trunk can be tapped once, while larger trees can accommodate more taps with a maximum of 3 taps allowed per tree each season. This careful regulation ensures that the trees remain healthy and continue to grow strong. The magic of maple syrup production lies in these special trees and the way they prepare for spring. In the summer, trees harness sunlight through a process called photosynthesis, which allows them to create sugar. This sugar is essential for the tree's growth and energy, and it gets stored in the roots as starch to help the tree survive the winter. When the weather begins to warm up in spring, temperature fluctuations between cold nights and warmer days trigger the sap to flow within the trees. During warm days, the tree's wood expands due to rising temperatures, building pressure in the branches. This pressure pushes the sap into the trunk and out through the taps. As night falls and temperatures drop, the wood contracts, creating additional pressure that pulls more sap up from the roots. This fascinating cycle occurs thanks to the tree's energy reserves from the previous summer, allowing it to thrive through winter and spring. In the past, maple syrup producers would hammer a tap into the tree and hang a bucket underneath to collect sap. As the buckets filled, they would empty them into a barrel on a sled or wagon, which would be pulled by horses or tractors to the sugar shack for boiling. This labor-intensive process was the traditional way of making maple syrup for generations. Today, most maple syrup operations have adopted modern techniques to streamline the process. Instead of relying solely on buckets, taps are carefully inserted into the trees and connected to a tubing system that stretches for miles through the woods. This innovative system allows the sap to flow more efficiently and in greater volumes. The tubing leads to larger collector pipes, which transport the sap directly to the sugar shack, either through gravity or mechanical pumps. This advancement reduces manual labor and allows producers to focus more on the intricate process of turning sap into syrup. Once the sap arrives at the sugar shack, the first step is to concentrate it to make syrup production more efficient. The sap is pumped into a reverse osmosis system that uses high pressure to remove a significant portion of the water content. This step effectively concentrates the sugar content in the sap, which saves time and energy during the boiling process. By reducing the amount of water, producers can boil down the sap more quickly and use less fuel, making the process more environmentally friendly. After concentrating the sap, it's time to turn it into syrup through evaporation. The concentrated sap is poured into a long and narrow pan called an evaporator, where it is boiled for several hours at a temperature of 104 degrees Celsius, about 220 degrees Fahrenheit. As the sap boils, the water evaporates and the mixture becomes denser and sweeter, turning into syrup. It is quite a remarkable change. On average, it takes about 40 liters, or about 10.5 gallons of sap, to produce just 1 liter of maple syrup. This ratio highlights the work that goes into every bottle of syrup and adds to its unique value. While the sap boils down, it undergoes a fascinating chemical change known as the Maillard reaction. This process occurs when the amino acids in the sap react with the sugars, causing the syrup to brown and develop its rich flavor. This transformation not only gives maple syrup its beautiful color, but also enhances its aroma and adds beneficial antioxidants. The unique taste of maple syrup is a result of this natural phenomenon, making each drop special and full of flavor. For those who want to create other maple products such as butter, taffy, or sugar, the syrup undergoes additional boiling to reach the specific temperature required for those treats. Once the sap is boiled, the next important steps are filtering and finishing. A natural material called diatomaceous earth is used, which is a fine white powder made from sedimentary rock. This helps to filter out any impurities or sugar sand, known as niter, from the syrup. Once the syrup is filtered, it is stored in 40-gallon drums, ready for the final stage. Next comes bottling and packaging. Throughout the year, the best-tasting barrels of pure Vermont maple syrup are selected for bottling. The syrup is carefully packed into a variety of bottles, and other delicious products like maple cream and maple candy are also created. Each bottle represents a passion for crafting high-quality, sustainable maple products. An exciting aspect of maple syrup production is the variety of syrup grades produced. From the golden color with delicate taste to the amber color with rich taste, then the dark color with robust taste, and finally the very dark color with strong taste. Each grade offers something special for every palate. Overall, maple syrup is not only delicious, it is a significant part of North American culture, especially in regions known for their maple syrup production such as Vermont, New York, and Canada. Every year, Quebec produces about 150 million pounds of maple syrup. But in 2024, the harvest set a new record at an amazing 239 million pounds. To keep up with the growing demand for maple syrup around the world, experts say that by the year 2080, Quebec will need to add another 120 million taps. Right now, there are 178 million potential taps just waiting to be used in the province, and 51 million taps are actively collecting maple sap from trees in Quebec's sugar bushes. And that's a wrap. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about the fascinating world of manufacturing, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel for future updates.